Good afternoon, Doc. How are you this evening?
I've been better, but I think there are a number of takeaways that we should focus on. First, the election is still unfolding. And while no voting is taking place, counting is taking place. Right now, Biden is ahead 224 electoral votes to Trump's 213. Both candidates still have paths to reaching the 270 electoral votes that are required. Biden has called for patience and for every vote to be counted, but Trump, on the other hand, has declared himself the winner. And this is another embarrassment because you can't declare yourself winner if, in fact, the election is still going on. In several states, it's so close, at least 9 states, it's too close to call. But in the remaining states, especially the Northwest, the Midwest, the votes that are being counted now are coming from the urban and suburban areas, and they're going to trend towards Biden because that's where a lot of percentage of African American votes are, and people are not.
Now, Doctor, not to cut you short, but just for us to really understand this, interpreting the U.S. voting system and results is not as easy fit for a lot of people who are unfamiliar with the system. Can you break down what the current votes mean exactly?
Yes, in our system, it is possible for a person to win the popular vote, but for someone to win the electoral vote. And the electoral vote is what really matters. And so states like Pennsylvania that has 20 electoral votes, or Michigan with 16, compared to Nevada that has 6, or Arizona that has 11. And so the relative importance of states may change based on the number of electoral votes that they have. And the Electoral College is the name we give to the 538 electors. Most people, even in America, do not know that they're voting for electors who will cast their ballots on December the 14th. But generally, when the election takes place, as it is now, the results are accepted as they are. And unfortunately, that's a quirk of our political system. And this has happened 3 times before. And in fact, the most recent time was in 2016. Hillary Clinton won almost 3 million more votes than Donald Trump, but Trump won the Electoral College. Right now, it looks as if Biden will win the Electoral College and will be declared the winner. And he's also leading by almost 2 million votes.
Very interesting. Now, Mr. Biden is currently leading, as you've already stated, but there are states like Pennsylvania that he must win to win the whole, election. What do you think are his chances as it stands?
Well, as I was saying earlier, his chances are very good because the outstanding votes are coming from areas in the urban areas and the immediate surrounding suburban areas, and they tend to vote more Democratic. In those areas. And the slow process, however, may mean that we wouldn't have a result for several days in Pennsylvania or in Michigan. But in just a few hours, we'll have a result here in Georgia, where I am. And the vote in Atlanta, which is the capital of Georgia, and the main 2 suburban counties, Fulton County and DeKalb County, they will heavily favor the Democrat. I don't know if it will be enough votes to close the gap, but in places like Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania, even Arizona, that should trend towards Biden, and that should give him enough electoral votes to be the next president of the United States.
Right now, Doc, President Trump won Texas, which many election analysts thought would turn blue. Do you think this will, if this is the case with the remaining states where counting is yet to be finished?
No, I don't think so. The state of Texas has a different demographic composition. It has a very large Latino population. and the Latino population, the voters split. About 36 or 40% went with Biden, went with Trump, I'm sorry, while the 65% voted for Biden. But there was a huge youth vote also in Texas, 600% increase for the 18 to 29-year-old vote. And Texas has historically been a state for the Republicans, so it was new for it to be a battleground state. And many people did not count the 38 electoral votes, and they didn't put those in the Democratic column. So those demographics in Texas and in places like Florida are very different than in some of the other southern states where the Latino population isn't that large, or even in other parts of the country.
Now, by the time we speak to you next, we will know who the president will be for the next 4 years. What do you think the next president should focus on during their term in the U.S. as we speak?
Well, whether it's Trump or Biden, they're going to need to focus on trying to bring this country together. The political polarization is reflective of the racial appeals that have been made, principally by the president, the current president of the United States, and his supporters. And that's going to be very difficult, because if Biden is declared the winner, it's not clear that Trump will accept that, nor his supporters. And we have three crises right now that the country is facing: the COVID-19 pandemic, the economic crisis that's very severe, as well as the race relations issues and crises. And the cry for racial justice will not go away even if Biden is elected. In fact, there may be more expectation from a Biden-Harris to address these lingering problems that have. I think some of us have underestimated the appeal to racism, and we're surprised that how this is coming from the highest office in the land. Apparently, if he's at 65.
All right, Doc, we seem to be having a very bad connection there with you. We're going to have to cut this particular conversation, but thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you.
All right, now that was Doc.